Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about the MERN stack and C#. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, do you believe that the MERN stack is a good long-term solution for employment, or is C# a better option? So the short answer is, well, that is a very, very hard question to answer, but I suppose that it depends on what your goal is here. Let me explain. So this story was a little bit, it was a little bit of a story, this question. Basically, this person was saying that in his region, the ratio of jobs is 7-2 for C#, and he's found it very hard to go into JavaScript and MERN, the MERN stack basically, in order to find an employment, especially when he's this fresh, because he has a junior profile, right? And basically what he said that I can't really imagine myself working forever in C#, but at the same time I need to find a job, right? So what should I do here? And the way that I answered this is pretty much that it very much depends on how flexible you are and what your desire is. Because if you compare C# to something like JavaScript, well, if you're gonna work in the browser, for example, well, then JavaScript is a very common thing. Like being a front-end developer is a fairly common profession, or it's a common job. It may not be the most common job in your region, and that's the key point here. This is why this makes the answer so hard, and that's why all these questions, oh, should I pick this language or that language and so forth, it's always a hard thing. That's why I always tell you the first thing you always have to ask yourself is, what is your goal? And the second question is, go and look at the job postings. Now this person has apparently done this, so if it says that, oh, it's a 7-2 split between C# and JavaScript in his region, well, then as I've been saying in I don't know how many videos, it probably is proof of that C# and Java, I don't even have to know that from him, is the way to go here if you want job security. That's the key thing here. If your goal, if you know, like if you've answered that first question, what is it that you want? Do you want to be certain that you will always have a job? Well, then the best possible choice is usually C# or Java. Because these are the strongest languages, and C++, depending on like what you want to do. But these are the most established languages in the world, and for a very good reason, because most of the corporations and the big companies leverage these sorts of technologies. And when they do that, so does most of the smaller companies, especially the consultancy agencies, because they are providing the experienced developers that these companies usually use. So there's a lot of stability in these languages. But what this person said at the same time was that, oh, well, I can't imagine myself doing that forever, and he spends most of his time, he finds himself spending a lot of time with JavaScript and the MERN stack and so forth, which indicates that this person has a preference. There seems to be a preference here. And now then you have to ask yourself that fundamental question that quite a lot of developers have to ask themselves. Is your tooling more important than getting a job? That's what it comes down to. If you really, really like working in JavaScript, I can tell you right now there are plenty of jobs all across the world, but maybe in your specific region it's very hard to get a job. So now you have only two choices, as you always do. Now you can either stay in your region and try until you find something, or you can work remote, move your context, find somewhere else where people are employing people. Because JavaScript, I mean, if you were saying that, oh, I want to work in Haskell, then my advice to you would have been very different, because practically nobody uses Haskell for anything. There are companies to do it, but in that case, it's a no-brainer. You're most likely going to have to move somewhere or find a very specific company. It's a very different story, right? But for JavaScript, I mean, this is the world's most popular programming language. So there are a lot of companies using this language for different purposes, right? But if you're specifically looking to work with the MERN stack or the MEAN stack or whichever you're working with, then you are in the same situation. As I was saying, like this person has decided that this is the tech stack that I want to work with. And if you really feel about it, if you really feel strongly about this, then go for it. Like then you have to, as I said, then you have to find another context, because if you can't find a job using that specific stack, you have no other option. Now, odds are that you will have a very stable time working with C# and you will become a very proficient developer in enterprise development. And but if you go with JavaScript, you're likely going to have to work a little bit harder for it, but you're also going to be exposed to quite a lot more tooling, and you're going to have a more dynamic ecosystem of things to pick between, and quite a lot of, well, the innovation level and the velocity, like the innovation velocity of JavaScript, is sky high in comparison to basically every other language. Now, C# is fairly innovative in comparison to something like Java, but it's not a very fair comparison. JavaScript has so much going on. But this is what I can't answer for you. What I would like to say is that if you want to be a professional developer, like a real pro, someone who is considered to be a true senior developer, you have to consider the possibility that you're not going to be able to always pick your perfect stack. You're not, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, no, it's so weird. I really don't know why some people believe that you can just pick whatever language you want, and then, or rather, not even, language might be something you can pick, but it's very unlikely that unless you really have a feel for the perfect stack, unless your opinion of the perfect stack is the thing that everybody's using. As an example, if you love Java and you only want to work in Spring, then odds are that you're going to be able to make that pick. Like, that's a very common stack, right? If that's all you care about. But it comes down to, like, how specific do you want to work? Like, if this person was saying that, oh no, I'd only want to work in MongoDB. Okay, well, if you only want to work in MongoDB with something like Java, well, that limits most of your options, because, well, it doesn't necessarily have to. Quite a lot of companies are using MongoDB, but Java has a more common pairing with something like MySQL or Oracle DB or MariaDB, like the relational databases, basically. That's more common, and that's what I keep on coming back to, guys. You have to be a little bit flexible. Now, I'm not saying that you should do something that you don't enjoy, because I think that you should always try to do the things that you really want to do. But all I'm asking you is to consider the possibility that this is a professional field where you are a craftsman selling your services, and unless people are buying or using, unless people are using the things that you want to use when you work, then you might have to be a little bit flexible if your time is going to be valued by anybody. So what I want you to take away from this is basically that for this person, like, I'm not saying that you should switch over to C# just because it's more popular in your region. I'm saying that C# is a very good choice for anybody who wants to be a professional programmer. It will teach you a lot to learn C#, and it will provide you job stability for as long as we most likely can imagine. It's the same thing with Java. These are the dominant languages for enterprise development, and these are usually the languages that people pick if they want to be career programmers. I'm not saying that you have to, because there are so many people who have other languages and work in other things. There are tons and tons of other languages that will give you job opportunities. But if you do the second thing I was saying, and you actually look at your region and you look at the job availability, and everything is in favor of these languages, well, then you're a minority, and you have to ask yourself, do I care so much about these other technologies that I'm willing to work harder to be able to work in that specific stack? Maybe you are, and if you are, then the only options are always try to find a job in your region and keep at it until you get a job, or move, or get like remote work or something like that. These are your options. That's it. But I also want you to always remember that as a true, if you want to be a professional developer, odds are that you're going to have to be a little bit flexible. and odds are that you will not spend your entire career working in one single language. Sometimes you can, but quite a lot of professional developers need to if they need to mix it up, or they will mix it up at some point, and they will learn other tooling apart from that favorite stack that they have today. Have a great day.